How's it going, guys? John from NILCH'i here. We're going to start this off. This is going to end up being an elk calling tutorial based off my knowledge and basically what I've learned over the years of calling elk and talking to elk. But I'm going to start it off a little bit different because I've been thinking about this every time I'm sitting here and I'm building these handmade elk calls. I learned this at the ATA show, and I didn't even think about it growing up, how fortunate I was to basically have a dad like I had and grow up in an area that had elk. So at the ATA show, dealing with all the guys in the Midwest that hunt whitetails, what's funny is what they don't know is that, a kid growing up on this side of the mountains, basically, a Western hunter. All I had to read was whitetail magazines. There was nothing about blacktails. Obviously, they talked about elk and stuff like that. My dad had Elk Hunter magazine and everything elk, but blacktails weren't really talked about. There wasn't any information on it that I could find, because if there was, I would have read it. And everything was whitetails. But it's kind of ironic and funny that I think we're creatures of where we grow up or where we end up. At the ATA show, talking to all the whitetail hunters and stuff, and then finding out and realizing, oh wow, they don't even have elk, for the most part, not like we have. And so that was an eye-opening experience. And little did they know that, one of my fascinations growing up, because I wasn't a good reader, I couldn't sit still. I was one of those kids that had to be in the woods, is that everything I read was about whitetails. And my wall, I would pull Miles Keller and all these guys that were killing these big bucks, and I would cut them out, and my whole wall was pictures of whitetails. And it's kind of funny that you always want what you can't have, or hunt what you can't hunt, but little do you know that the whitetail tactics, I transformed them into my blacktail tactics. Like I've said before, I've never used a trail camera in my life, and I don't see that ever happening. I think that all you got to do is go out and study the woods. And basically what I do is look for tracks and stuff. And my favorite thing is, I was telling my dad the other day, is I try to find three trails that come together. I mean, this is nothing new, but for blacktail hunting, it's so thick, and if you can find those areas, there's just not a lot of knowledge on blacktail hunting. And growing up here my whole life, it's always funny because I watched the Southern Outdoor podcast, and I love watching that show because I'll sit here and build elk calls and, dream about being a whitetail hunter, and I can't because our eastern side of the mountains has whitetails. I missed a big one this year. But it's not like, it doesn't seem like the type of whitetail hunting that I got to drive 7 hours to do it. And blacktails are in my yard. Elk hunting literally is in my backyard. I could drive an hour and 45 minutes and be in elk country. And so, it's kind of ironic that we grow up the way that we grow up and dream about the things that we want to go do. And sometimes we take those things for granted, I guess is my whole point. But that podcast, I watched that podcast and I thumbed through the ones, and some of my favorites are the old timers, man. I love when they interview guys that, they kill all these bucks, and these dudes don't know what a trail camera is. you know, years and years of knowledge of basically failure, I would imagine, because that's what's happened for me is trial and error and learning. You know, my dad wasn't a bow hunter, so I had to basically go out and beat feet and learn the hard way. I used the whitetail tactics, I still do to this day, on blacktails. I've got 4 stands set up right now, not stands because I one stick for blacktails, but they're all set up, and I'm super excited. This year I got to pay for it, but I got a multi-season tag here in Washington, and so I can hunt all the seasons. I've never been able to hunt in the rut, or I'd have a wall probably full of blacktails, I feel like. But instead I got some pretty nice mule deer bucks, which taught me a heck of a lot too. But I'm always interested in those ones where you get those old timers, and it's always cool. Those are the ones that draw my most attention, are those guys that, the knowledge that they have. My favorite one probably is that Allen guy. It's so funny because he thinks the way that I do. He let it's either his son or his other buddy, he'd let him hunt his spots, but he ain't gonna let him hunt his one spot. Because that's how I am. Like this bow right here, this recurve has Ranger, Black Widow. Put that on the limb. You can put your nickname or your name or whatever you want on there. But growing up, my 2 best friends, Brian and Herc, they always called me the Ranger. And the reason behind that is that I hunt in the parks. Theoretically, no, I don't hunt parks, but if I'm gonna snoop out an area, it's gonna be a park. Not actually hunting in parks. Don't misconstrue that. I'm not a poacher, I'm not doing illegal stuff, I never have. But I will snoop out and I will hunt and find an area that is just plush. And I look it all over. I look for 3 things. Security, water. Basically, the wind plays a big part of it too, and you know, if you don't know who I am yet, that's everything I preach about is the wind, so that's usually number 1. So those would be the 3 things. Wind, water, and security, or however you want to label it. But security's a big one. The thicker the better. And then you got to sometimes go in and you got to cut your lanes in and do that in the summer. And over here where I live, I mean, my buddy Brian always says, you know, we could lose each other if you stuck your bow out. You know, the brush is so thick. And I worry about that all the time when I'm hunting somebody, because usually I solo hunt. I have my whole life, but you could lose your buddy here in Washington State in like 5 steps if he went the wrong way, and it's happened several times. It just happens. It's thick out there, and you got to know your way. You got to have a good idea of. Everybody talks about woodsmanship and stuff like that, but I think that my main thing, like growing up with my dad, woodsmanship to me. I hear a lot of different talking about woodsmanship nowadays, but there's a lot of different aspects to that. But you know, living here in this country, you get lost out here, you better know how to survive. I've spent many a nights under logs in the pouring rain, didn't have the right stuff. But there's 3 things I don't leave without. Typically, hopefully never again, and that would be well, kind of 4 things, but 3 things mostly. That would be the ultralight puffies, a tarp, and then fire starter is a big one. I've gotten through some pretty nasty nights with the fire starter. Saved my life here in the rainforest where we live. You know, basically you got to have a fire starter in your backpack. It'll save your life. Or you're going to live one miserable night out in the rain. And I've spent some miserable nights out in storms, because one year elk hunting, I chased a bull down in a canyon, and I took out my puffy from Kuyu. I got the bottoms and the top. Well, I made the decision, am I going to put these in my pack? Oh, they're going to be bulky and way too much. I spent the whole night out in the rain. And boy, oh boy, was I kicking myself for leaving those behind. The tarp, you could set that up anywhere and you can survive. But I'm getting off track here, you know. I feel like all that whitetail stuff, man, I watch that stuff and it gets under my skin. I wished I should watch what I say, but it sure looks fun. And if I had them running all over my backyard or wherever, I would probably be, instead of a mule deer, blacktail elk hunter, I probably would be a killer whitetail hunter. That's all my chips would be in that, just like you guys, is what I'm saying. But anyway, we're gonna dive into these calls for 26, and I got 5 of them here. And you know, people at the shows and stuff, I mentioned this before with elk calls. I just think sometimes people are intimidated by this, but I feel like, you know, when it comes to reeds, I feel like I've made it pretty easy to learn. And I think I'm just gonna kind of go through this willy-nilly for you guys at home. If when you jump on this and you start practicing with this stuff, if you feel like you make a mistake, well, really, that's what it's all about. That's really the only way to get better with elk calls, elk reeds, is to you know, be willing to make those mistakes and keep practicing. And you know, I know that the airflow, and I worked really hard on this frame to eliminate a lot of those problems. If there's people out there that still have problems using a diaphragm, I basically, what I did with my son was I took the tape, and to be honest with you, I started him out with a balloon, believe it or not. And a lot of guys might think this is silly, but this works. So when you blow up a balloon, watch my cheeks. If you're letting the air get anywhere around the outside of your teeth in this direction, you're never going to have a good seal. These things need to be wet and sealed and up in the top of your palate. The next thing I did, well, let me stick with the balloon. So the next thing you want to do is make sure that your cheeks are, basically suck your muscles in on your cheeks. If you can suck your muscles in on your cheeks, you wouldn't blow a balloon. I guess some people would, but the proper way to blow the call to practice would be keep your cheeks in and then see if you can blow that balloon up. It's harder. That's the proper way to blow an elk reed. So, cheeks in. That's the same thing I'm doing with an elk reed. Is keeping my cheeks in, air comes over the back of my tongue. And now that we have the 2 notches in the frame, where the airflow just goes directly into the latex, I had my son bugling in 2 days. I will, on my website, if you leave me a note and you order these calls, I will build you a custom frame and cut the tape off, because I really don't think that if you can't get this, that would, in my mind, that would be impossible, because this, I would send this to you, but I'm not going to be responsible if you swallow this thing. That goes for anything, really. It's just common sense. But if you put this on your tongue and you shove it up to where it's comfortable in your palate, I'm going to show you here in a second, all you got to do is breathe out and you're going to get the sounds. And then you chuck this in the garbage and you move over to the tape and you already know how to do it. In 2 days, my son was ripping bugles. Right here. I'm just bringing my tongue up, arching my tongue. It gets rid of all of the problems. There's no tape or nothing around there. There's no confusion. Just the reed frame. Put it on your tongue. Put it right where your palate starts to drop, behind your teeth. I'm just breathing out. Tongue up. I'm telling you, when you blow through these reeds, you're going to get a sound. You're going to get the sound you're looking for. And you just work with it. You just keep practicing and practicing. I don't think you're going to have to practice that hard, to be honest with you. But I will do that for people that struggle. If they want these elk reeds, I call them reeds, diaphragms, call them whatever you want. It's an elk call. I will make you a custom and I will send it to you, but I'm not going to be responsible if you suck it down the pipe. So that's one thing to be careful about, because it doesn't have the tape around it. And you don't want to be swallowing, you know, I mean, you got to use common sense. But this is a really, really cool trick. I don't see anybody not getting this that wants to. It's all in the individual. How good of an elk caller do you want to be? How quick do you want to get it? Most people want to get it quick or want to be better. Who doesn't? Elk hunting is a blast. So those are my two little tricks right there. Cheeks in, blow the balloon up a couple times. Just keep popping on it, keep working on it, you get it. I will do that. It's going to be a price. It's probably going to be half the price of a regular frame, but it would be worth it for you to have this and plop it in there and start blowing on it. You're going to get there quicker. I'm going to go over my tube real quick. I've done this before, but this, I want to really specify that this is not a competition tube. What I built was an elk hunting tool for the woods, meaning it being throttled down right here, it projects the geo right through the timber, and that's what you want. You want that high note getting up there and getting through the timber. I put a lot of thought into this. It's still, you lose some of the thump, but I think that the back pressure, it hits and back throttles back into here, and you get plenty of that, the FO, and the growls and stuff. But my main focus was, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was the high notes, the geos, because those are the ones that pierce that elk can hear. The low growls, like growing up, me and my dad sitting on landings, sleeping in a sleeping bag. I can remember hearing elk bugling all night, and when people hear elk bugling all night from 800, 900 yards away, it sounds totally different than when you get up close to an elk. All that gnarly, raspy growls and grunts and chuckles and all that stuff, yeah, that all comes into play. But an elk hears what we're projecting to him. So I focused really hard on the geo. And I'm going to talk about the geo here in a second. But 13 inches is what it is once you pop that off. That's only 13 inches. All the sounds that you're going to hear me blowing on these diaphragms is through this tube at 13 inches. And I did that for the reason of the backpack hunter. Anybody that has a backpack can put this on their backpack. It's right here. It goes right around and attaches right here. You lean right over. You got your bow in your hand. I've been preaching that, and it's a good system and a good setup, and you're about to hear all that. But yeah, 13 inches. All the sounds are coming out of that. For years, all the elk that I shot, I didn't even carry a bugle tube because it was just, man, I just felt like it was a lot of work, really. And my number one problem was I didn't like it clanking all over, or where do you put the darn thing? You know, really. So these eyelets right here solve that. They got nice 30-inch cords on them. You can cut them to your liking, strap it right down, reach right there and talk to elk as you're walking through the woods is what you should be doing anyway. Just letting out nice little calf sounds, it bugles awesome. It almost bugles better. I think it does bugle better, and it's got more depth. And so from there, I'm gonna read you something. Remember I told you about my reading skills, so bear with me. Alright, male wapitis appear to have evolved a dual mechanism to escape this constraint. We speculate that wapitis have evolved a biophonation. Biophonation is dual source, two-tone, as a means of simultaneously producing a high-pitched, powerful GO component, which may function for advertising presence to females or males over medium to long distance, while retaining a low FO component, providing a dense spectrum to clarify highlight formants and broadcast size information at close range. Meaning, it's all about who's the boss, really. I think it's the pecking order is what my dad always called it. You know, it's all about the pecking order when it comes to the breeding cycle. Let's see. That report that bugles from free-ranging male wapitis only contain a low-frequency component in aggressive context, supporting the contention that the high spectral density arising from the low FO vocal fold source functions to facilitate the expression of body size. There you go, the pecking order. I mean, I think that says a lot. This report right here, I think there's 5 wildlife biologists that did studies on elk. I could go into depth. I've read this thing, I don't know how many times. A lot at my pace. But there's a lot in here that went into this to get that tone that I was looking for, that high note, and still not lose the FO, the low, the growls and stuff, you know. So I wanted to read that to you because that was important too. So another thing, I'm moving right along here. I'm going to jump into this because this one's important to me, but one of the guys that I really studied and I looked up to because I kind of felt like, you know, him and his son Chad, I'm talking about Glenn Berry, him and his son, I feel like, you know, I've raised my son, and I feel like that relationship and that bond that he had with his son, it gets me kind of worked up because I've lived my life that way with my son, and you can see it in their relationship, in their partnership, and I mean, what a special thing, really. But I really admired the guy, and he's put out, man, I used all his calls for years, and I mean, in my eyes, he's a legend in the game of bow hunting, public land stuff, and doing it the hard way, and I'm not taking nothing away from nobody. I could care less. I'm just saying that there's a certain style that I like, and he was it. And this call right here, I can't remember if this is Fatal Attraction. I think it is. You'd have to look it up. I can't remember, but this call in Idaho, I mean, he really developed, to me, and I would never put him down for it, but to me, I wanted to develop a call and a reed that was very similar to Glenn Berry's Fatal Attraction, because this thing, I could be anywhere in the thickets and the timber and pipe on this thing, and those bulls, man, them bulls just can't turn it down. And really what we're all looking for is just a tip, right? you know, you're out there, you hike, you put 3,000 feet on 4,000 feet. I mean, I'm so dumb, I'm willing to go over the top and try to go up the next one to try to, you know, get a response. And that's a lot of work. But these to me, I don't know how to say this without like not trying to infringe or hurt somebody's feelings, but I really did want the sound in this, in Sweetheart to be real close to this, because this really set the bulls on fire. I know there's a lot of these styles out there now, and a lot of people have done this. This is not new, but they haven't done it in a reed. And so I'm gonna have to get a drink of water here in a minute. My mouth's getting too much talking. Oh, that's better. I'm gonna pipe on this. This is a really special call to me because it called in a lot of bulls. And a lot of bulls sometimes just for fun. One year I called in, I think 6, came home, didn't kill anything. My dad said, "You're nuts." I'm trying to kill a whopper. Fatal Attraction, I think that's what this one is. But these to me, sometimes you can fail on these things. This board and this reed, sometimes you got to hit it right. But what I do is I roll my lip. And sometimes I would really get crazy with this thing. And I'm going to do a couple of things. And then I'll go to my call. But that one right there. I would do that sometimes when it drive me nuts. That whining. These are tricky. The further you get down towards the tip, if you foul it, it could come off funky. But you know, in anything, my advice to you guys would be in anything in elk calling, because I used to be really anal about messing up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you practice. It doesn't matter even right now that I'm on camera talking about this stuff. None of it matters. It really doesn't. You could screw up at any time. Elk aren't perfect. Cows aren't perfect. They're screaming all kinds of different things. It doesn't matter. At the shows, I would always try to be perfect and stuff. You know, you want to do good in front of people and rip out good calls and stuff. But I mean, I'm usually pretty spot on with it. But and if you foul one up, it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, even when you do this and you practicing this stuff, it doesn't matter at all. Okay, this is Sweetheart. Don't take into consideration the colors of the reeds. This is for 2027. This is not a 26 call. I'm already working on something else. But the difference between the two. Now, what I wanted was something a little bit softer. Take that into consideration. I wanted something that was soft. Still hit the high note, but still had soft, was still estrusy, that anybody could figure out and blow. That's the key. Because a lot of people can't bring their tongue up, and when I did the 2 notches in the back, got them out of the way of the center, that changed everything. And then also my notch on top in the channel in the valley. So. Pretty good, pretty clean, super clean. What I was looking for in a reed was these two together, but something that, one of the tricks is, and I learned this listening to my last elk video, I'm like, why am I blowing so hard? You don't have to blow very hard on this thing. Like in some of my videos I was watching, I could see and tell that I was even overpowering it. The beautiful thing about it and what I've designed is it low air pressure, and that's key. So I'll show you. Calf calls. nice little vibration at the end. A little more intensity like a lost calf. Just bringing my tongue up and hitting those two knobs. It's all about air pressure and tongue pressure after that. You know, I think I nailed it. I wanted the same sound out of the these types of calls, these little, you know, anytime you use plastic over rubber, I feel like you get more of a softer sound, and that's what I was shooting for. I wanted that nice soft sound and that estrusy vibration, because that's what drove the bulls nuts. It's that nice little, it's kind of a whine rasp at the end. If you push too hard, you won't get it. You just want your tongue to come up and just kind of flutter the end of it, and you'll get a rasp out of it. But moving forward, we're going to go through bugling tips and tricks. Pretty much done with that stuff. This tube's designed basically for your lips to fit right in that hole. There's no lost air in the end of this thing. And so basically I'm going to take you through the way that I warm up. And the way that I warm up is the only thing that an elk hunter doesn't want to hear, and that is barks. But what barks do is they teach you airflow quick. So my advice to people learning or people that want to get better is practice your barking. I know we don't want to hear it in the elk woods. It'll send chills down your spine. It's not something that, you know, we want to hear as a hunter. But in the realm of practicing terms, I'm going to let out about 6, 7, 8 or something like that. And you'll, what it's doing is just teaching you the airflow quicker. If you can do that, if you can practice your barks, then you can take that to the next levels, the next steps. Tongue up, quick blast. 2 knobs in the back, trap it, force the air out fast. You see how much I'm putting into it, a lot. But it's going to teach you something. If you can get your barks down, then you take it to the next level, which would be what I call, a lot of people call it a locator bugle. I call it a pretty bugle, because when you're 800 yards away, 900 yards, 1,000 yards away, it sounds pretty. When you're up close to bulls, you know, all that rasp and growl and bugling that they do sounds totally different when you get right up in their face. They got all that extra stuff that you don't hear from a long ways away. But what I'm trying to do, if I'm going to locate them, I would do the pretty bugle. And there's two. There's the pretty bugle, and then there's the aggressive bugle. And there's really, those are the two. The aggressive one would be when you're in tight and you want to basically get a bull's attention or let him know that you're, you know, you are the man and you're ready to be the man in the pecking order, basically. So I'm going to fire off the pretty bugle, which is basically the what everyone calls a locator bugle, but it's got different tones to it, and it goes out there and it gets higher and higher and higher. Boom, boom, boom. You can hear the trying to get a response, you're going to do that and bring those notes up, and it's carrying further and further and further. Elk don't make one sound. They just don't. They make all kinds of sounds. The next one would be, it's a one blast deal. The way that I'm doing that one is I'm trapping the back of these two knobs and using tongue pressure at the back of the reed, meaning I'm trapping all of it between these two knobs and forcing the airflow goes right through. I've taken away the knob in the middle and the airflow goes right down the pipe and hits the latex. And you want to do the practice your pretty bugle, your locator bugle, by trapping the back of the frame, and you'll be able to get different notes. The other way to do it would be just one blast, and then you can throw anger into it. Bowls go up, down in different tones. And I'll do that one right now. It's just a one blast deal. I'm not doing anything different other than I'm just going to use one airflow. I'm not bringing the pressure of the airflow up in different levels. So it's just one shoot. And a lot of people probably will end up doing that one. But if you want to practice and get better, I would say that the pretty bugle is the one that you want to elevate yourself with. If you can find those tones and find those notes, this call does that. You can do that with this call. You just heard those notes right there. Do some chuckles in there for you. Those are just quick blasts. Basically the bark in a shorter version. The bark does everything for you to learn. Take it to the next level. The bark. Practice your barks. And then take it in more air pressure and learn to fine tune it and funnel it in a narrower channel where it's just not one blast. You're dragging it out up. Just keep going. So I'm just going to keep going, freestyle here and there, but I would say those two are my main go-tos on what I use when I'm out there. To get the growls, it's just a flutter. I'm just fluttering basically years ago, they used to put in the Diaphragm packages, it's a gur. And old habits are hard to break. And I love it. I love the growls. If you listen to bulls, you know, I get really gnarly with it. You can elevate it. Take it to different levels. Do what you want with it. Play around with it. You can't do anything wrong. That would be my number one thing that I would tell people. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You know, as I sit here in front of you, I've just done this stuff so much that I don't really care if I make a mistake. If I make a mistake, you know, who cares? Nobody really cares. You just keep, you take what you learn from that and you move on to the next. I would say that from those two calls, I would say that lip balling, and lip balling is something that I preached about before. You got to be really careful with lip balling. I don't think that if you're going to go out and start lip balling early season, you got to be real careful with that. Obviously, you feel a bull and you read the room and you see that he's being elevated and you can get him to that temperament, then you know you could lip ball and you could hit him with it, you know, let him know. But you know, most of the time I'm gonna lure him in with Sweetheart. I'm gonna lie to you, that raspy estrusy sound is really what they're looking for, because they're looking for mates and they want to breed. But lip balling is something that, for practicing terms, I would say a lifesaver. My tubes, both this on the and the backpack bugle tube extension, they're the same diameter. You turn those into a lifesaver. Your mouth will go into the formation of a lifesaver, and you don't want any air loss when you're doing it. Stick it right in there and pucker up and turn your mouth into a lifesaver, and you can get your lip balls and stuff like that, and we'll do a few of those right now. So basically it's all set up, and the way that I do that is I'm basically going to come down and use the inner, not the outside of your lip. You don't want to be puckering in there like that. You want to pucker up to where you're hitting the soft part of your lip, and that'll fit right in there. And then actually, I was blowing pretty hard on that. You could actually tone that down about one more notch, and I think it'll work out a little bit better. You want to start out when you're learning this to lip ball. It is a lot of air, but you could overdo it, and you will get, how do I say it? You just got to play with it till you find the right tone. Yeah, a tone. So I'll see about how low I can do it. I could feel my lips buzzing around there just a scotch. You really want to seal it off. A lot of guys say you don't want to seal it off. I seal it off, and then it comes right off the bottom of that lip. So the last part of that, I just use a little bit of a voice inflection. You can talk right out of the call. And that's about it. So, and then one other thing, Corey said, I don't know when it was, a while ago, that if the elk ain't bugling, he don't want to be there, and I am right there with him. I think that it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I always want to trick a wild animal. If I can trick a wild animal with calls, I think that the reward for that is massive. It doesn't matter whether it's deer, bear, elk, coyotes. I mean, I've called them all and I've killed them all through vocalizations. I think that when it comes to elk, if you're not in the rut, and that really is, I think what everyone really, that experience is what everyone really wants to be involved in, and it's hard because you got to hit it at the right time. Somewhere around the 10th or 11th or 12th or 13th, somewhere in there, and take the whole season off. And you'll probably run into it, but I would say that if I can't call it in, I will say this, that the reward for being able to call an animal and trick him at his own game is really what I strive for. And I think that, these elk calls, all I've done is sit here and try to build these things for you guys so that, to make it easier on you, and hopefully you kill some bulls, kill some cows, kill whatever you want. I hope that they, excuse me, work good for you, and sold a lot of them, and I appreciate all the people that have supported NILCH'i. And I will say that my son tells me, Dad, you gotta tell him like and subscribe. And I'm like, you know, I'm not that guy, but I may hook a guy up once in a while. I see a lot of people watching the videos, but hit the subscribe for me. If it helped you out in any way, and I hope it did.